Hello and welcome to Heroes World TGIF. I'm your host, Andre Greenidge. And as always, I'm joined by Jesse, my wingman, my partner in crime on this adventure where we bring you all the cool stuff that comes to the store, Heroes World, whether that be comics, games, action figures, anything that's cool in the store. And of course, we are going to talk about pop culture stuff. So, what happens in the week? We're going to discuss that here. This week's episode is kind of fun. We've got a lot of cool things to get to, lots of big Star Wars news this week. We've got a couple of great comic releases. We're also going to go back in time for last week in comics. We're going to talk about some of the great comics we couldn't get to last week. And special, we are going to do a trailer reaction to Sony's new Uncharted movie. And we're going to save that for the end of the show. So, Jesse, how are you doing? How did your week shape up?
Oh, a lot better than last week. We got very small snowfall this week. It was
Yes.
lovely, to say the least. Yeah, like you said, a lot of great releases in the comic book world and news. It seems like there's a new news story that intrigues me every day.
Yeah, you know what? It's a great time, except for the weather, and of course all the stuff going around the world. It's a pretty crazy time, but hopefully you will take some time to geek out with us and listen. Let's start this show with a bang, and let's get right to it because Star Wars has been bang on fire lately. We've had lots of news coming out, especially on the video game front. Now, I'm a huge gamer. I know you are yourself too, Jesse. And
Yes.
Star Wars video games have been really up and down over the last few years, lots of moving and shaking. EA was supposed to have an exclusive deal with Disney to produce Star Wars games, and they started off with a couple of great ones, actually. And something happened where they opened that up, and there's lots of companies making games, but we want to talk about one company in particular. News just dropped this week that there's going to be 3 brand new games coming from the fine folks at Respawn Entertainment. Now, if you're not familiar with Respawn Entertainment, you should be, because hopefully if you're a Star Wars fan, you played the incredible Jedi Fallen Order that came out in 2019. So it's already
Oh,
been
wow.
3 years. So
3 years.
one of those games is going to be the follow-up to that series that will be, we don't know a name, but it's going to be Jedi Fallen Order 2 or of the like. And there's the star character right there, Cal Kestis, a Jedi who escaped the purge of Order 66. Now, I love Respawn. The other guy you see on the screen there is from Titanfall 2, one of the best shooters ever. So if you get a chance to play that game, you have to. It's super cheap. You can buy new copies for like $5,
Yeah, it
and
is.
you can always get it on Xbox Live or PlayStation Network. Always on sale. Trust me, play that game. But Jesse, what do we know about the 3 games that, or the 2 other games that is going to be offered by Respawn for Star Wars?
So they said one of them is going to be a first-person shooter, and it's going to be handled by, I forget the guy's name, but it's the head of Battlefront.
Yeah, Star
Yeah,
Wars
it's
Battlefront.
Star
Yep.
Wars Battlefront. So I'm hoping it's kind of a mix between Titanfall and Star Wars. That might be cool. And then the third one is supposed to be put in the same hands of the XCOM series, right?
Yes.
It's supposed to be an RTS real-time
Yes.
strategy game, which seems exciting too. I don't know how that's going to work. It might be cool with your stormtroopers and Jedi's and attacking back and forth with limited moves. You've played the
Well,
XCOM games, right?
yeah, so basically there's a new studio formed, and it's former employees of Firaxis. I can't remember what the name of their new studio is, but it's really exciting because XCOM 2 was such a great game, and it's a cool genre. Now, it's not a genre for everybody, but these strategy games are very, very cool. Usually they're turn-based or real-time. But what I like about them as a fan of XCOM is you get to really customize your squad and try out different strategies and stuff, and you get either build up bases and stuff. So to have one of these in the Star Wars realm is really, really exciting, and I'm super looking forward to that. I've been a fan of the XCOM games since they originated on PC, and I have been playing the newer ones on console. So that is good news. And these games that we just talked about, these 3 games that are coming out, it joins a roster of about 8 total Star Wars games that are in production right now. So let's say law of averages. Hey, maybe if 2 or 3 of them are good, it's going to be a great time to be a Star Wars fan and a video
Yeah.
game fan. We already saw that Star Wars Eclipse trailer
Yep.
a little while back, and that came out of left field and stuff. We weren't expecting that. So yeah, there's lots of, shall we say, things to look forward to in the Star Wars video game realm.
Lego Star Wars is supposed to be released this year too, right? The
Yes,
Skywalker saga that's
the
been
Skywalker
delayed
saga.
Countless times. I think we're at what, 5 times now? Like, I think
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
supposed to be 2018 when it was first supposed to be released, but that's
And
beside.
still no release date.
Actually, I think it's this year, but later on,
Yeah,
holiday season. I think they said.
Yeah, it didn't concrete it, so that's interesting. So hopefully, if you're waiting for that, you'll be able to play it soon. So
The Lego Star Wars games are always great fun. You can pick up anywhere and just have fun for 5, 10
and just
minutes,
go,
an
yeah,
hour.
they're couch co-op and stuff like that. There's also online play. Yeah, lots of fun, and there's so many of them. So if you're a
Yeah.
Lego fan or have Lego fans out there, getting all of those games into one should be super, super exciting. But speaking of exciting, I hear something about that new Book of Boba Fett episode.
Is it Book of Boba Fett, or should we just change the title right now and call it Mandalorian Season 3.1? You stopped watching it, correct?
I did.
It's
I
been
watched the
bad.
first 2 episodes and I was like, yeah, I'm tapping out. It wasn't for me. Too
It's
much, shall we say, I don't want to say yeah, it just didn't do it for me. Like I'll be let's be very blunt. I thought it was frankly too stupid, too poorly written,
Mhm.
and it didn't stick with what we knew and had already seen of the character of Boba Fett from the Mandalorian. I think it strayed even too far from that after the second episode, which I praised for actually being almost a full hour. Like, they had time to pack story in, but they decided to not pack any good story in. So yeah, I said, you know what? I can see where this show is going, and I am going to remove myself from the arduous task of having to watch it. And I think I did the right thing, because what I heard of episode 3 and episode 4,
Yeah.
whew, stinkers, right? Just horrible.
After episode 2, I kind of went into episode 3 not expecting anything. I kind of wanted to watch it as sort of like a comedy, if that makes sense. Like, how bad can it get before it becomes unwatchable?
Yep.
3 was bad with the Teletubbies on scooters. 4 was really bad. I don't know. There was a weird scene where Kraston, the Wookiee, was holding uh, what's his name, Boba Fett, and it was just weird. They were fighting in the I don't know. Anyways, 5, Mandalorian. It opens up. I'm going to try to convince you to go back and watch just this one episode, maybe 5, 6, and I think it's 7. Right? It's 7.
Yep.
So I think they're gonna. I think they're leading into Mandalorian season 3, because this episode was 100% Mandalorian. It opens up in a. It looked almost like a meat warehouse, meat factory, where
Mhm.
people were cutting up meat. We see a curtain keep the cold air in, and boom, guess who walks in? Mando.
Well, the Mando.
He is on. It's almost like a halo. It looks like a halo. It's a ring, and it's got buildings all over it. I kind of chuckled because I was like, that's Star Wars Halo right there.
Star Wars
But
Halo. Yep.
he's on this Halo. He's doing bounties, and he's just trying to get by. He's trying to find information about his old friends. I forget their names, but it was the blacksmith from season 1,
Yep. The
and
armorer.
the armorer. Yes, and what was the guy's name? The guy in the blue suit. I can't quite remember. He was the grandson of the guy who created the darksaber. That's doesn't matter.
Tarvis.
So Amanda, I can't remember. Mando's trying to find them, so he's doing little bounties. He's trying to get information of where they're located on this Halo. He finally finds the information. There's a wicked battle scene where he pulls out the darksaber for the first time, and he's trying to use it, but he's kind of missing. He actually slices up his own leg because he's not familiar with the weapon. I didn't know this about the Star Wars lore, but a lightsaber's heavy, or is that just a darksaber? Do you know of any of that, or is that maybe just the darksaber? Apparently, it gets really heavy if the user's not in tune with it.
Well, yeah, that they introduced that in Star Wars Rebels, where when Sabine Wren was training with the darksaber and Kanan was showing her the lightsaber forms and stuff like that. As she got more comfortable with it, she was able to use it. I think maybe heavy is a term that they're talking about, kind of just like, oh, you're getting more proficient with it, so you are adjusting to it and you are learning to balance it, right? So it's going to have something like, yeah.
He's very sloppy with it. He cut his own leg up, and as he goes in to meet the blacksmith again, she's like, okay, fix him up. He's obviously hurt. How did you hurt yourself? Oh, I cut myself with this. And he just pulls it out, and everyone's like, oh, what's that? Everybody knows what it is, but they don't know how he got it.
Yeah.
So Mando's down on his luck. Look top right there. He's actually on what it is. What are they called? A bus. What are the buses called? He's on a bus going.
He's on a space bus. He's on a passenger public transportation.
You don't see it in this image, but right in front of them, there's a little Greedo looking at him, waving to him, trying to get his attention. And he had to leave his weapons at the door because he's not allowed to carry weapons onto the bus.
Oh, man.
So there's a fight scene between the armorer's henchman, the guy in the blue, I can't remember his name, and Mando. The guy in the blue wants the darksaber for himself, and the only way to get the darksaber is to win it in battle. Mando takes the win, but he gets kicked out of the guild because he took off his helmet. And a real Mandalorian never takes off his helmet, which is weird because now he's going on a quest to go back to Mandalore to apologize for taking off his helmet, but he's going back to Tatooine, where our current characters are located.
Of course, because all roads in Star Wars now lead to Tatooine.
Well, he does have his friend, I forget the girl's name, but the curly-haired girl that has all the droids running around?
Yeah.
His friend is supposed to find him a new Razor Crest. So he gets there, he's talking to her. She says, I didn't find you a new Razor Crest, but I found you a, what's that ship called? A Naboo Starfighter?
Naboo Starfighter from the Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace. And she's like, oh, this is pre-Clone Wars. You want this ship. You don't want to, this is a very fast ship. So she's trying to convince him to buy this ship instead of another Razor Crest. And he's like, I don't like it. I don't want it. It's not my Razor Crest. Not what I know. But as he's building it with her, he starts to grow to like it. You can't really, here, can we make this bigger? You can't really see it, but they kind of added a cool feature behind the cockpit there, where the astromech droid would sit.
Yep.
Is a little bubble. And I think that little bubble is for our friend Grogu.
Grogu, yes.
I think Grogu's got his own special seat in the Starfighter.
So where's Mandalorian supposed to put his bounties in this new ship?
I don't think he's going to be a bounty hunter much longer.
Yeah, I guess he's just going to fly around in a starfighter with no hyperdrive. But they probably added one.
They added one. I was missing one little point. I was saving it for the end. Remember that spear he got from?
Yes.
It wasn't Ahsoka. It was from the.
It was the episode with Ahsoka. Yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
So as he's talking to the blacksmith before the fight, she asks him where he got it, and a Mandalorian doesn't use Beskar for weapons. They use it for armor. And she says, I will
Mm-hmm.
reforge it into armor for you. What do you want? And he says, can you make it for a little friend? And she said, yes, I can. So I don't know. It got me a little bit excited. I want to see little Grogu in the Mandalorian armor with the little helmet and the little chest plate and flying around
This
on the
is
jetpack.
this is just getting cheesed. Come on, you got to admit this is getting a little.
It
You're
yes,
not
but
selling me, Jesse. You're trying to get me to watch this, and I'm like,
that was my opinion. I want to see Grogu in little Mandalorian armor. But
okay,
what we saw was little rings, little tiny rings. So what I think he asked her to make was parts for a lightsaber, for his own
out
special
of
little lightsaber.
out of
Beskars,
Beskar. Huh,
Beskar, yeah.
interesting.
But I don't know.
Interesting.
She gave it to him in a little baggie, and the little baggie's tied up. Like it's a bandana, and it's tied up, and it's got little ears, so it kind of looks like a Grogu, and he's carrying it around. He's like, "Oh, look at Grogu's head." It's yeah, just kind of a little cheesy, but the spaceship is just so cool.
Yeah.
We see our two friends again. I forget the pilot's name, but it's Appa from Kim's Convenience.
Yes.
He makes an appearance back, and he's like, "You sound familiar. Do I know you from somewhere? This isn't your regular ship." And then he's got a jet drive or hyperdrive, and just zooms out of there and flies around. He's really loving his new ship, but just a really good episode, really fun. Um, we did see a little droid. Remember BD1 from the game we were just talking about, Jedi
Jedi
Fallen
Fallen
Order?
Order. Yes.
I don't know if it's the same one or a different one. I don't know if there's many or if there's few, but we see him running around trying to help Mando build his new ship. Just a great little
Oh,
episode.
interesting.
100 times
Interesting.
better than what we're getting from the Boba Fett show.
So
I
wait, we see BD1 in this episode.
I think it's BD1. That's actually the shot from the episode there on the right hand side. That's him looking
Hmm.
at Mando, but he's never been in a Star Wars before, I don't think, and this is, I
No.
think, groundbreaking because we've never had a video game character come to live action, have we? It's always been the other way
Interesting.
around.
Interesting. Now, you know what's kind of ironic about this, one of my big disappointments in The Mandalorian was in season 1 they really did a good job of making it Star Wars for anybody. So if you didn't know anything about Star Wars, you could tune in and basically watch this. It was all new characters, new planets, and stuff like that. But then in season 2, they really started to mine all the cool content from Clone Wars and Rebels. I guess technically they did do that by showing us the dark saber at the end of Mandalorian season 1. And as a big Clone Wars and Rebels fan, I really didn't like that. I felt that they didn't earn the right to use those characters. And all of a sudden, they didn't really explain who those characters were for anybody who was new to the show. So anybody would then have to kind of dive into the backstory of these characters and stuff. But I always said one of the cool things that they could have done is instead of using those characters is they could have used the characters from Jedi Fallen Order. Now, Cal Kestis and his quote unquote other Jedi friend, she was a former Jedi seer. Uh, I think they would have been great characters to put into the Mandalorian because they're already actors, right?
Hmm.
And instead of us having Luke Skywalker show up to save um the crew of the Mandalorian, they should have had Cal and that ship, and they could have made Cal look a little bit older and stuff. Again, they're all actors, and then people would have been like, "Oh, I've never seen these guys. Who are they?" Again, you can draw people and say, "Oh, they only appeared in the video game." So, if they had done that, they could take those characters, show what their future was, and then the video games could have filled in the past. Like, what did Cal Kestis do to that point? And I think that would
I,
have been a really good thing. So now maybe they're going to do that by using BD1 here or whatever, or kind of Easter egging stuff. But it really feels that right now that this show is just more fan service than substance. and I just don't get any sense of direction from the show The Mandalorian. So listen, possibly I'm not going to say I can't promise that I will watch it, but I won't say that I'll never say never. How about
Yeah.
that?
No.
Because the next episode is directed by Dave Filoni. But I've been hearing a lot of buzz online about this particular episode, and I want to throw this theory out there for you guys out there watching and listening. I heard that this was the best episode so far of the Book of Boba Fett.
Number 5 or number 6?
Number five. This
Yeah.
last episode, people on my Facebook feed, my social media feeds are saying, "Oh, this is the best episode yet." Well, that's kind of funny because Boba Fett doesn't appear in it. And I
Yeah.
think that is super problematic. My personal theory, I don't think I've mentioned it on here, Jesse, with you, but I really think that Jon Favreau is actually just basically throwing Boba Fett under the bus. I think that Boba Fett's such a popular character. A lot of people like him, even though they didn't know too much about him. He'd only had a couple cameos in the movies, but he was always a cool and an ominous and a threatening figure. He made Boba Fett super badass in The Mandalorian, but now in his own show, he's craptacular. And it's almost, to me, like I said, I think he's sabotaging the character. I think this is going to make Boba Fett's stock go way down. And then people are going to go, "Oh, I like the Mandalorian better than Boba Fett. He's a better Mandalorian than Boba Fett." So then Jon Favreau is going to get to say, "Oh, hey, look,
He's
I
mine. Yeah.
created this character and he's a better Mandalorian than Boba Fett. I now have the most popular, or I am responsible for the most popular, creating the most popular Star Wars character." Now, I could be totally wrong. I could be off base, but I just don't see how this book of Boba Fett is supposed to be endearing to Boba Fett, or changing his character. Fine, you want to change a character, by all means do it. Characters are going to grow and evolve,
Yeah.
but you have to show it in the show. You can't, like, the show's nothing. Like, it's anyways, my opinion. Some people say, Andre, your opinion is not valid because you're not even watching it anymore. But yeah, those first 2 episodes were just stinkers, and I would be hard pressed to see if they can pull it out in the last 2 more episodes left for this. I think in our other show, Jesse, we talked about it right out of the gate. What was Boba Fett's motivation in even
Yeah.
taking over Jabba's crime syndicate or whatever? Like, we don't even know. We don't even get those things, right? So right off the gate, we just don't know enough. So we'll see how they do it. Listen, I'm all for more Star Wars, but I want good Star Wars. It's not enough just to say, "Oh, I'm happy that I got live action Star Wars." That's not enough.
To me, I think this is kind of a stepping stone to Mandalorian season 3, where we're going to get a whole cluster of stuff going on. We're going to have Boba Fett, we're going to have Fennec, we're going to have Mandalorian, we're going to have Grogu. You mentioned Cal there. I think he's going to show up. Like, I think it's being a secret kept close to the chest. We know Grogu's gone to train with Luke,
Mm-hmm.
and if we look at the financials and realist part of that, we can't have Mark Hamill CGing a whole series of him training Grogu. It's not financially stable. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of time to superimpose that face. What I think
Yep.
is going to happen is, I think Luke in Jedi Fallen Order 2, whatever it's going to be called, Luke is actually going to find Cal, and Cal is going to be what was his name in the earlier games, the ones that are not, was it Kyle Kess? Kyle Kess?
Kyle Kestis was his name, yeah.
Yes, he was kind of like Luke's little apprentice, kind of helper, right? I think that's going to be Cal, and I think Cal's going to take Grogu under his wing and
But
train
Cal
him.
would be older than Luke, right? By a
No,
lot, by a lot.
Cal's actually the same age because well, not this.
No, he's
Yeah,
older because remember, he's that age. Like, that game takes place literally maybe a couple years after Order 66 is given, right?
Is it
Like
a couple?
maybe, yeah, it's and at Order 66 he's young. He's a Padawan, so he's maybe a mid-teenager, and then he's an adult. So yeah, that game probably takes place maybe couple years before A New Hope. We don't have a
Yeah,
definitive timeline, and I'm sure Cal could show up, right?
yeah.
But I don't know what his relationship, or if they would put him and Luke together, But we'll see. Listen, if you guys are digging the Mandalorian, that's great. Yeah, I just not the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett. See, I've done it.
I keep doing it all the
Right?
time too.
Yeah. So yeah, like let us know what you think of my theory. Do you think I'm being too hard on Jon Favreau, or do you think there might be actually something to it? Because sometimes in Hollywood there's a lot of ego going around and stuff like that, and people want to leave their marks on stuff. And
But
maybe this is Jon Favreau's way of saying, "Oh, I'm going to leave my mark on Star Wars by creating this Mandalorian." And why would you have literally two of the same character, right? So
Dave
that's
Filoni had a big part in Mandalorian too, right? Did he help?
in
He
the
helped.
first.
Sorry, go ahead.
He was the executive producer, and he wrote a few of the episodes with Favreau, and he directed I think 2 or 3 in the first series.
Well,
So,
if he helped create the Mandalorian, I guess I'm okay with Dave Filoni getting the credit as partial creator of
but I don't think
Mando.
he. I
If
think I don't think he does. I think if you look at the actual credits, the Mandalorian, it says created by
John Favreau.
Jon Favreau, and all of this season of Book of Boba Fett, Jon Favreau gets the main writing credit.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very interesting, kind of situation, right? Because again, most people that I've talked to, and I get to talk this a lot at the store, a lot of people are just watching it because it's Star Wars,
Yep.
right? Oh, and very few people are saying, "Oh my God, this is, uh, you know, just something to have," right? Like they're not excited about it. They're not saying this is great, let alone people that are Star Wars fans. Like my Star Wars fans are just shaking their heads at this and stuff. And it's okay for something to be um to cause a rift or whatever, but you want to have a dialogue about it, and you always want things to improve and to be good. And if we're not doing that, like, kind of, I don't want to say what's the point, but if it's true that you're saying they're just stepping stones to get to Mandalorian season 3, you could use better stepping stones.
Yeah.
Like and the Mandalorian season 3 already kind of laid up its own foundation, right? So anyways, enough Star Wars talk. Hopefully it gets better. Especially for my sake. I want to start enjoying Star Wars again. I want to have confidence in the Obi-Wan show coming up and the Ahsoka show. And right now, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I am not feeling them, and I'm worried about the next step. But let's talk about something positive. Wow, what a hell of a week in comic books. Jesse has just brought up one of the slides. Lots of great titles dropped this week. And the big one right in the center there, after almost 3 years, we've got the next issue of Saga number 55 on the stands, and people are just coming out for this book. I've had a couple people buying a couple copies, people coming in and buying for friends, people who normally read it in trade paperback but are so excited for it to be back that they are like, nope, I can't wait any longer. It's already killed me. Let's start going by the issues. So that's a great book from Image. We also have the next issue of The Devil's Reign, Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil-centric book, in which the Kingpin has outlawed all superhero activities in New York City. Marco Cicchetto doing amazing on the art. Great series. 3 of 6. And Marvel kind of, I don't want to say leaked, but they announced that this series is going to lead into a brand new Daredevil series once it's finished. So that's kind of exciting. And then also for Marvel, we have got Thor number, I think that's 21, and an interesting thing happening to Thor and something they have done to his hammer. It has shaken up the Thor universe, shall we say, and Donny Cates has been really shaking things up on his books, doing a lot of cool things. In DC land, we have got The Flash and we've got Superman in Action Comics. Action Comics is really cool because it's following what Clark Kent Superman is doing, because he's left Earth behind to do some a deed that needs to be done in space, and he is having a rough go at it. So he left his son in charge of Earth, Jonathan Kent, and what he's doing in space is it needs to get done. But this is a challenge even for Superman. We can see him shackled there. Jesse, let's go to the next slide and show some of the other great books that came out. Justice League, with a beautiful cover for a friend of mine, Yannick Paquette. We've got Superman 78 following the beloved Richard Donner Superman movie series. Task Force Z, one of Jesse's favorite books. Here's Zombies and the Red Hood. And then we've got Marvel's X-Men, and we've got a new X character there. I think his name is Captain X.
Yeah, I think so. I believe so.
Yep, Captain X, and of course, Boom Studios' House of Slaughter. So these are just a few of the offerings out this week. Lots of great books. So if you guys are reading comics, get out to your local store. Come see us at Heroes World. There is lots to choose from, and lots of books are really spiking, and lots of new first appearances, and lots of buzz around. But you know us by now. If you've been tuning in, this is how we do it. We pick one book that just has to be the book of the week. And our comic book, our Heroes World comic book spotlight, is none other than Saga number 55. Jesse, you are quasi up to date with this book. I read Saga in hardcover, so man, good Lord, who knows when the next hardcover is coming out? Got to be a year from now. So I flipped through the book. Of course, the art's fantastic. It's beautiful, but I couldn't read it because, you know, I would be lost and there'd be lots of spoilers because there's only 3 hardcovers so far. So, Jesse, let's get a rundown. What were your thoughts of Saga number 55?
I have Saga. Let's go back. I've read, I think, volume 1 of the trade paperbacks. That was going to be my pandemic goal, was to get through the whole Saga thing, and it kind of fell through the wayside. Oops. I thought I had more time to get caught up, but I guess 3.5, 4 years wasn't long enough. My bad. So I'm going to look at it from both. I have a little bit of knowledge, and I have no knowledge.
Okay.
So I want to pretend for a second I'm a first-time reader, and if this is a good jumping-on spot.
All right.
With my knowledge that I have, which is very limited. I think I know Marco, Elena, and what's her name? Hazel? Hazel's the baby? Right? So the whole story is from Hazel's perspective, correct? It starts off with her being born, and then it goes through her life, and we're following Hazel. And you're up to date on all the hardcovers, right?
Yes, I have finished up to 1, 2, and 3.
So you're at 54. That's where you finish. You finish on the big event, right?
Actually, trying to remember. No, you know what? Yes, there was the cliffhanger ending. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this takes place, I think, funny enough, 3 years after that big event. Everybody's moved on, but not really moved on. We see the Will, the bounty hunter, the Merc, the hired gun. We see Hazel. Yep. She's grown up. How old would she be now? Around 10, I believe it is. And we see Elena. When I first started reading this, I was like, what is different about her? What I couldn't put my finger on it. Then I was looking at pictures from the first volume. No, she's got blonde hair and not green. I was like, oh, how am I so dumb? But it was a really good. It's a good continuation. It's a very good jumping on spot. If you don't know the characters, it gives you an introduction to the characters. Hazel gives her little backstory. She's talking about her father, who is no longer in the picture. She's talking about her mother. Her mother's very protective of her. She doesn't let her go far. So Hazel's kind of like her mother, like her father, kind of a rebel, just for the sake of being a rebel. It actually starts off with her running through a market and some guy chasing her, and she's like, "He's trying to take pictures of me without any clothes on. Somebody stop him!" Right? And then eventually cops come in and break up the two. And then, do you remember what the people are called? What the corn people are called?
I don't.
So that side, which is Marco's um,
Race.
race, one of them comes down and they're like, "Is this a friend of yours?" And she does something. She kind of blows up the market as a suicide bombing. So we don't exactly know what's going on, but if you've read the stuff before, you know that there's a raging war going on throughout the galaxy,
Yes.
correct?
Yep.
So as a new reader, if you look at this, you don't know what's going on, but your interest is sparked. You want to
Yep.
know what's going on. You want to know if that girl actually knew the other girl, right? We've got a new character. I think his name is Bombozo. Bomba. He's the guy from the front cover there, the guy with the arm. Sorry, the guy with the robotic arm there.
Yep.
He's kind of the henchman of Elena. When we catch up with Elena, she's in a market selling formula, but she does it very interestingly. She goes and exposes herself, saying breast milk isn't good. Have formula. So it's I don't know what's going on. I think that's Brian K. Vaughan playing with the consumer, trying to sell the nudity. The panels right after that is another scene with a lot of nudity in it, putting it lightly.
Well, the book's always had a little bit of that. It's an adult book, and the language and dialogue, and of course subject matter do lend to that. But at least it's not like, well, there was the early robot sex scene in the first volume that was very gratuitous.
If you're just tuning in now, you're wondering what we're talking about.
Yeah. But the cool thing with this issue, though, is, as you were saying, it's almost like a double-sized issue, right? There's a lot going on, so it does catch you up to if you are a new reader, but at the same time, it isn't a advertised jumping on point. Like, I don't think they really expect people to just be like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to start reading this at 55 and not go backwards." It might be one of those things. Oh, I'm going to see what the buzz is all about. And like, oh yeah, man, I got to read this. So, would you say that it would have accomplished that for you? Like, you want to go back and get up to current, like catch up on your trades?
Yeah, of course. I've always wanted to read a Saga. It's just something I put on the back burner for so long. But yeah, I think it does both. If you want to jump on here, there is that lore that you can go back and read if you want, or you can just continue reading from here because it reintroduces all the characters 3 years later. This is what we're doing. This is what's going on. There's a lot of intrigue behind it. There's what's the robot races? There's a robot in there, and I thought they were bad guys from my first reading of the volume. And there's a robot, and he's hanging out with all of them. And there's a lot of backstory you want to get caught up on, but you don't have to, if that makes sense. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like you can continue on. It seems like 55 if you want to jump on and you don't want to go back. Obviously, the story is going to be a lot better if you do go back.
If you do, yeah. But the one thing that stayed consistent is just the imagination of the book and the art. Like, look at this. This is just a fantastic image. The book has always been, I've always found it nice and unique and refreshing. The art style is really cool, and their vision of a future and a kind of a galactic civilization stuff has always been top notch. Brian K. Vaughan, and a very amazing writer, as well as he picked a really good co-pilot in Fiona Staples for the art. Like, they're a really good pairing. So
she doesn't do anything else either, does she?
I
haven't
not
seen
currently. I think she's done some stuff in the past. Like, I think she did some I remember her working with Archie. She did a Archie reimagining. I think that was with Mark
Yeah.
Waid, if I remember correctly. But yeah, no, it's super cool. Super
It's a
cool.
great book. You only get more enjoyment out of it if you go and read the 3 hardcovers or the what is it, six
Uh,
graphic novels.
I think it's eight or nine, maybe even. Yeah.
The 54 issues before, and I think at the end there's a letter, and he says he's gonna go up to 109.
Wow.
So this is the halfway point, I believe. So
Well, let's hope he gets there without another 3-year hiatus.
I think it's closer to 4, but who's counting?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. So, guys, yeah, definitely you want to check out Saga. It's a great, great book. And speaking of hiatus, um, in not the good form of hiatus, the next book just dropped this Wednesday. And while Jesse and I are both fans of the IP, wow, this is an exercise in unfortunately poor timing and poor circumstances. But we are going to talk about the Cowboy Bebop comic book from Titan Comics. And here we have the Art Germ cover, Stanley Lau. And you can see that they have chosen for their cover images, anyways, to follow the TV show version of the characters. And I got to say, like, this particular book, they invested heavily in because I swear at the end of this issue, they show all the different covers for this book. And I think there was legit 40 different covers
Yeah, there's a lot.
and stuff, and it's crazy. If you guys don't know, Cowboy Bebop, originally a anime series, came out in the late 90s, 98, 99. 27 episodes plus a movie, fantastic series. And then Netflix brought it to live action, and I think it went 9 episodes for their first season and axed, canceled shortly thereafter. And yeah, there are no season two. Polarized the fans. A lot of people really liked the live action without having watched the original IP. Most people who watched the original IP thought the Netflix version was was a disaster. Some people calling it like a dumpster fire and stuff. And yeah, so there will be no second season for that. There's petitions, of course, as fans always petition. And you know what? Again, never say never, because some shows do get rescued, but I don't think this is going to be one of them. So this comic book, yeah, we are following our
Bebop
space
crew.
cowboys, and again, very stylized book. The characters do not look like the TV series art wise, but they do have their swagger and their style. We can see a very kinetic and hip Spike Spiegel here doing his thing, being cool while kicking ass. Story wise, I felt it fit the universe, right? I felt the only thing was that it might have been for this first issue, if you know the source material, if you've watched the series already, and maybe even if you've watched the Netflix stuff, it almost felt too similar. Like it's just another similar caper that almost makes it feel like they're trying to do a comic book adaptation of the show. Did you get that impression too, Jesse? While
Um, which show are you talking? The anime or the
yeah,
live action?
I just feel in general like them, the crew going, like, yes, they are bounty hunters, but again, they're in a casino and they're going after a guy, and the guy has some type of device and stuff like that. And I'm like, I've seen this story
Yeah, yeah.
before. It just really felt like um it was
Done
too
before. Yes,
similar.
like
But if you hadn't followed all of it, I think it's a good comic,
yep,
But again, I think it's
completely agree.
going to only appeal to people who already know the name. I can't see somebody just walking by and going, "Oh, that's a cool cover. Let me pick that up." But as you can see, like, the art is very, very cool. It is stylized, it's bright, it's colorful. You can follow the action. The dialogue I found was really cool. Like I feel, to be honest with you, this felt more Cowboy Bebop to me than the TV show did, than the live action did. I'm one of the people that falls into the category that I didn't like the Netflix show and stuff, but I do really feel bad for the timing of this. Had this comic come out when the show came out, I think people would have picked it up out of curiosity, seen how it tied in, and if they were enjoying the show, they would have been like, oh cool, I'm going to continue with this. As it is now, I think it's going to be hard pressed to be sold to anyone. But that's why we're talking about it, because I think both you and I did enjoy this comic, right, Jesse?
I did enjoy it, but it didn't seem too much like Cowboy Bebop to me, if that makes sense. The anime was very well written. It was very unique in the way it presented itself. You usually saw the bounty, the crew got the contract, and then they chased the bounty, and then they caught him in the end, right? I feel like this one we were more introduced to the characters than the actual bounty, so it kind of seemed
Yep.
a little bit more like, I haven't seen the Netflix show, but that's what they did in the Netflix show, right? They focused more on the Bebop crew,
Yep.
right? So I feel like it's not really Cowboy Bebop, but it's not bad. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Like
Yeah, I can see that. I just like, I think for this particular comic, like the if you recall, the my favorite part of this one was when Jet was talking to the woman on the stairs,
Yep.
and that to me felt like something that would have come out of the anime. You know,
Exactly,
it
yeah.
just, it, that portion was especially well written. It was unique. It felt like it had heart, you know. And it just stood out from the rest, and I think that's what the anime did for me. So I did get a feeling of that,
With
even though yeah, you unfortunately you don't have the great score and the Yoko Kanno soundtrack in a comic book and stuff. And I did wish, like, I do think some of the art choices, you know, like you don't get that gritty kind of uh future and past amalgamation in some of the art style and stuff. But again, maybe as issues go on and we see other things,
oh yeah,
we'll get that. But yeah, I still think that the art was pretty good, and it's stylized, and I think they had to go with something a little bit like this.
if you're just reading it as a comic book, it's a great comic book. If you're reading
Yep.
it because you like the anime, it's still a good comic. Like I didn't not like it because we're
Hmm.
judging it by a 22-minute show, and this is the first issue. So if we look at it as the first act,
Yeah.
it's because it's only four issues long, right?
I think the first part, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's 4 issues long. So if we're looking at it, it's the first act. Yes, it did the job. We got introduced to the bounty that they're going to be chasing. It seemed a little watered down Bebop,
Yeah.
right? I did like the scene that you were talking about when Jet was talking to the random lady out front, because that's what the anime was about. The Bebop crew was always either an obstacle
Yep.
that the bounty had to overcome, which they never did, or they just so happened to be in the right place at the wrong time. Like
Yes.
I always think of the right place at the wrong time when I forget the episode title, but it was the one where they're back on Earth and the guy gives the package to Spike and he's like, "Hold this, meet me here in a day." No, wait, make it
Yep.
2 days. Like Spike's just there randomly walking by, hands in his pockets, and then he gets handed this package, and then that's where the story starts, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I like that scene with Jet. I wish there was more of that,
Yeah.
but I get they're trying to merge both audiences together in one comic book to bring fans of both
To
together,
both
right?
do it.
And
Yeah.
I think they did a good job of that, but I'm like you, lean towards the anime opposed to I haven't even watched the live action, so
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
But yeah,
Well,
again, great book, good book, good book.
yeah. So, all right. So that's a couple of the new books this week that we liked, and we showed you a list of some of the other stuff. So let's get in our time machine and let's do our last week in comic books. We're going to go back in time, and we've got 3 great books to tell you about because, again, there's been so much good stuff coming out that it just takes us a while to read it and digest it and bring it to you. So, first up, Jesse, this is your book, as I said before, Task Force Z or Task Force Z. This was issue 3, Deadshot's back, emphasis on the dead.
Yes. So this is not last week. This is, I think, a month ago, maybe a little bit longer than a month ago.
Yep.
But I remember we talked about it when it first came out, and I brought up a point, and I want to circle back and mention that. So number 3 takes place right after Jason Todd has been shot by Deadshot.
Mm-hmm.
They went to find Deadshot, and they have this magic pill. It's called Lazarus resin. So if you put the pill in a dead person's mouth, they will come back to life. So they get word of where Deadshot has been buried. They go there. They put the pill in his mouth, and Deadshot, being Deadshot, shoots first, asks questions later. He shoots Jason Todd, and Jason Todd doesn't make it. Jason Todd dies on the bed, which, if you're a fan of Jason Todd, you know this isn't the first time he's died. How many times has he died? 2, 3, 4? I can't remember. It seems like every story arc he dies and comes back. So he dies, and the lab that the Task Force Z is working out of decides to inject him with a large dose of Lazarus resin, and it brings him back. So the lab didn't know about this at first, but they doing research and they discovered that the more resin they take, the more they come back. So if you take 100 pills, you'll come back to life and you'll be fine. It's like the Lazarus pit. You throw them in the Lazarus pit, they come back to life.
Like Ra's al Ghul, yeah.
So they've kind of been microdosing them, so they're zombies, so they'll listen to people, because the Task Force Z is all villains. Jason Todd's in charge. So they're microdosing them to bring them back, so they'll obey, but they won't have a mind of their own. Next slide here. So they get hook up, they get a line on where the next Lazarus resin is going to be, and they go there because they're not actually developing it, they're finding it, they're testing it, yada, yada, yada. So they get to the shipment, and there's Cheshire, the poisonous assassin, right? That's her name, Cheshire. They get there, she's there, it's actually a booby trap the whole time. They get into a big fight, she poisons everybody, and Jason, being Jason, has being leader of the team, has a satchel full of Lazarus resin just in case they need it. And he pulls one out of his pocket here and throws it at Bane. Bane gets a mouthful of Lazarus resin pills and comes back to life. Now, do you remember when we talked about this book originally? What was it? Maybe 4 months, last year sometime? I said I don't know how Jason Todd is working with Bane, right? Jason Todd used it to his advantage. He brought Bane back to life and said, "Do you know why I brought you back to life? I just want one word." And Bane says, "Alfred." And then Jason Todd kicks him off a skyscraper to his death. Right? So I remember saying vividly, I don't know how Jason Todd is working with the person that killed his grandfather, his father figure. And he used it the whole time to get his revenge. So that was, I really got enjoyment out of that, because I was questioning that the whole time, and I like how they looped back and brought it in, and now Bane's off the team. So that was near the end of the issue. Jason Todd finds out who Crispin, the Amanda Waller of the team, is, and he goes to where he's located. And do you want to guess who it is? I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
I don't think I can guess.
Just take a random guess. It's probably a Batman villain, because everything's Batman at DC.
Everything's Batman related. So who could this guy be? He's got to be somebody who's connected, and
I'll give you 2 guesses. One without any clues, and then I'll give you one with a clue.
Wow. Who could this guy be? A Batman villain?
Batman villain.
Not Black Mask. Black Mask doesn't have the resources for this.
So your clue is in the name Crispin.
Crispin, 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 Crispin. I'm drawing a blank, my friend.
It is no other than Two-Face. Get it?
Two.
Crispin? Half his face is crisp.
Half his face is crispy. Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. That is.
So the current issue is number 4, and that just came out this week. And great read. Great read. If you like Batman, if you like Red Hood, it's great. There's a big rogues gallery of sidekicks that he's got. Mr. Bloom, which we haven't seen in forever. Who else is it? Bane not in there anymore. We got Deadshot. Just a great story. If you like zombies, it's right up your alley as well.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. What do we got next for last week in comics? Speaking of death and life, we have got the X lives and the X death of Wolverine. Now, is it 10 deaths and 10 lives of Wolverine? Like how there was the powers of 10 and the House of X? Like which X are we using here, Jesse?
I don't know. I think it's X lives of Wolverine and 10 deaths of Wolverine, or vice versa.
Yeah,
They got to
vice
really
versa.
put it in that. They got to really write it out when they're writing articles about it or talking about it as the number or as the letter, because it's really confusing.
It definitely is. Definitely is.
But this one follows Wolverine and Xavier sending him on a mission. And at first, we don't know what the mission is, but he's just saying, you have to go. Wolverine being Wolverine, what does he do? He listens to Charles. He'll do whatever.
Follows orders. Yep.
Yeah, he'll do. Charles has always been there for him, so he'll always be there for Charles. We also get Omega Red. Omega Red's up to his old behaviors. I think he was put in jail in Yep. He was put in jail and then got out because he was being good, and then he just left the island. And now he's figured out a way to time travel and sort of quantum leap. Remember that show?
Yes.
He
it's
can
coming back.
Oh, yeah, true. He can quantum leap into other people, and Wolverine's been sent back in time to fight Omega Red, who's quantum leaping into people from the past. And do you want to take a wild guess who he leaps into?
I'm looking at the picture there, and I can't really tell. The lady looks pregnant, though.
Well, first he quantum leaps himself into a gardener who happens to be the gardener of his name forgets me, but it's Charles Xavier's dad.
Oh.
And that there you see the handmaiden of Charles Xavier's mom. And do you want to take a wild guess who the baby is?
Well, if it's Charles Xavier's mom, maybe it's Charles Xavier.
Hey, so Wolverine's been sent back to protect baby Charles Xavier, who has yet been born, but Omega Red already wants to kill. So this book was gory, high octane. Wolverine's just slashing through people. He realizes Omega Red has been quantum leaping into people, and he kind of has to hold back because he doesn't want to kill innocent people because he keeps jumping from person to person. But at the end, it's just Xavier's mom does what she has to do. She picks up a gun and she just shoots her maid. That's what they do. But Wolverine does.
How does Wolverine travel back in time then?
He is sent back in time through what's that machine called? Cerebro.
Interesting.
And Jean Grey and Charles Xavier. So it's kind of like Days of Future Past.
Yeah, very cool.
Days of Future Past mixed with Quantum Leap. I don't know what the story is going to be about. I guess the 10 lives of Wolverine. I guess
yeah, he's going to go back and try and maybe he's got to protect Charles at multiple different times, right?
That's where I think it's going, because we see him at the end holding baby Charles and saying, "Don't worry, I got you." So I think he's just going to go through different parts of his life and just protect Charles.
Interesting. Yeah, and that's a limited series that's out right now, and it's going to be a weekly series. So the second part just dropped this week. So if that one interests you, then you got to come by and check it out. Wolverine sometimes does some crazy stories, but some of those happen to be the best stories as well. So sometimes we got to suspend our disbelief a little bit more for Logan because some of those stories can get really far out there. All right, next up for last week in comics, we are going to talk about the new Miss Marvel book called Miss Marvel Beyond the Limit. All right, so if you know Miss Marvel, this is Camilla Khan, the young superhero who has the power to kind of enlarge body parts. She's got to embiggen her fists and she can leap, kind of stretch too, but she's got to do all that while being a teenager. And nobody knows in her family what she does in her spare time. Pretty cool character. And this is, I can't even tell you what volume of the book it is because there has been several, but this is a great comic book if you've got a young reader or a young female reader that wants to get into the character, because it's just a cool book. Lots of dialogue and insight into her character. She is visiting her cousin, and she's out in Chicago just trying to relax and stuff, and she's taking in the sights. And in true Marvel fashion, she's going to get into a little bit of hijinks and a little bit of trouble as she ponders what her relative does, is a kind of a quantum scientist. So they're all about the multiverse, and she's thinking, oh, what kind am I going to meet other versions of myself? Is that possible? And she already has done so many great things as a hero. But of course, as I said, hijinks ensues. She has to don her costume and stop somebody from stealing her cousin's work, and then that has a ripple effect, somehow causing multiverse activities, because when she gets back home, all of a sudden her parents are watching a Bollywood movie, and the whole street starts to change into that. And if you follow Marvel's multiverse stuff, one of the first people that opened up the multiverse in recent Disney stuff makes an appearance at the end of this issue. It's a lot of fun. It's just bright, it's colorful, it's charming. And we'll see where it goes when we see the different versions of Camilla Khan. Some of them were quite funny, but yeah, really recommend this book for any early reader or somebody who wants to get in to Miss Marvel. That's a great jumping on point.
Yes, and we had the pleasure of meeting the MCU's.
Yes, we did. We Nice story. Aman Vellani, who is playing Camilla Khan in the show, was a and still is a customer of our great store, Heroes World, and she dropped by over the holiday season to say hi and also to thank us for selling her first Miss Marvel comic book and getting her into the character. So that was a really nice moment. She's a great grounded individual. Can't wait to see that show and see how she does in it and stuff. So Jesse and I in Heroes World kind of have this link to the MCU, so we're kind of honorary Avengers. Would you say that?
I think she dubbed us honorary Avengers. Yeah.
Yeah.
She said
So,
we'll get our keys in the mail to the Avengers Mansion.
yep, and our ID cards. So we'll wait for that.
I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
We have a trailer to talk about, but before we do that, Paul's here.
Paul, what's
Hello,
up?
Paul, and happy birthday.
Yeah, and Paul's an old friend of mine. Me and Paul go way back. Um, Paul and I worked. I got my first job at a hobby store, and Paul was one of the cool cats that worked there that I looked up to. Got me into the game of Warhammer and all kinds of stuff. And now I sell him Warhammer. So the dealer has now one dealer to another. So Paul, have a happy birthday, my friend. Thanks for tuning in and spending a little bit of it with us. So
Okay, cue us up for what's next.
Oh, all right. Next up, we are going to talk a little bit about this. So, the Uncharted trailer just dropped. So, we are going to play this trailer and do a trailer reaction for you. We haven't watched it yet. Maybe you guys have. If you have, join us for our thoughts. Jesse, did you
Yep.
play the Uncharted games?
1, 2, 3, and 4. I did not play the what was it, Lost Legacy with the two female characters.
Okay. Yep. I played 1, 2, and 3. I have still yet to play 4, which I hear is the best one. So kind of stupid for me to stop there, right?
4, yeah, 4 is good. 4 is good. You should
Yeah.
definitely go play it.
And I hear that Sony is also remastering the games for the PS5. So I guess they want to kind of tie that all in together. So yeah, let's fire this trailer up and see what they have in store.
Here we go.
I've been dreaming about this my whole life. Magellan's gold.
It's the biggest treasure that's never been found.
5 billion, easy.
So when do we start?
Yeah, put that in your ear.
Hello? Hello?
I can hear you. I'm sitting right next to you. Your brother believed that there was a final piece.
Wait, you know my brother Sam? What else aren't you telling me?
You have no idea who you're partnered with.
Sully! Hurry! It's gonna take a little longer than I thought, kid. I assume we're 50-50, right?
50-50? You get 10%. That's me being generous.
Wow.
Let's find some parachutes.
What?
Unless you know a better way to jump out of a plane.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry! Oh, crap! Come on!
500 years ago, my family found the fortune and was betrayed. So much blood.
You're doing great, Gene.
This ain't over. Hey, you still with me? Barely!
What's with the cat?
She's just for you.
What?
Life seems super sad.
I'm not gonna keep this thing.
Exclusively in movie theaters.
So that was the trailer to Uncharted. Wow, what a high octane ride! Did you see those
Yeah.
boats flying through the?
Was that
Wow,
that was helicopters carrying
boats.
some boats, right?
Yes.
Was it one boat? Oh, sorry, here, Jess. Let me get you in here. Was that one boat or two boats or two Anyways, yeah, that was kind of crazy. Couple things shocked me right out of the gate. My man Antonio Banderas is in it.
Hmm.
And yeah, I've liked this guy since The Mask of Zorro and stuff. And I know he hasn't done a ton. He played a very funny character in the Expendables. I think it was Expendables 2 and stuff. That was funny, but I do love him. I didn't realize he was in this movie. And second thing, I didn't realize the movie was coming out so fast.
Yes.
Right at the end it said February 18th, I think it said.
Yeah, so this was the final trailer. They released a little teaser maybe a month ago, but yeah, it seems really quick. I guess they want to get it out there before.
Yeah. So unfortunately for them, I'm going to be playing Horizon Zero Dawn when this movie comes out, and they said exclusively in theater. So I don't know when I'm going to get to seeing this movie, but I got to say a couple of things. After hearing Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, you know, look, if we're looking at this image here, he's spot on. He's wearing the uniform. He's wearing not a uniform, but he looks like him. The costume is very Nathan Drake-esque. But the sound, his voice, totally throws me off. Totally, like Sony might have spent money on this movie, and like I said, like the action set pieces look great. Tom Holland, I'm saying now, miscast, doesn't sound the part. Maybe he's got the physicality and he can run and jump and do all of those things, but does not sound like we've heard Nathan Drake's voice for so long. This guy doesn't have the cadence. I closed my eyes a couple times. He just sounds like Peter Parker Spider-Man. Like he
Yeah,
could have tried
exactly.
to change his voice a little bit. And
I don't think he's a leading man, to be completely honest with you. That's why
I,
they have Mark Wahlberg there to kind of carry it. If you
yeah,
watch the trailer, he's kind of looking to Mark Wahlberg for answers, and Mark Wahlberg is always responding to, like, I don't think Tom Holland's a good leading man. I think he's a very
I
great.
think he's too young. I think
Yep.
he's too young, like, or for this type of thing. Like he's an ensemble cast person, you know.
Paul agrees
And
with you there. He looks too young, and with like a Gerard Butler to play.
yeah, Gerard
Nathan.
Butler would have maybe, you know, he might be a little bit older, but yeah, definitely. But also Mark Wahlberg still sounds like Mark Wahlberg.
Mm-hmm.
Does not look like Sully.
No
If you
mustache.
covered up that Uncharted thing, like, you know, it just looks like a generic thing. Like, you've got iconic looking and sounding characters. I think, to be honest with you, I think they've missed their mark on this casting both times. Like, Wahlberg just sounds like Wahlberg. Like, again, you've got the guy who played Sullivan. He's a known voice actor, great voice actor. Wahlberg could have studied that guy. I'm not saying he had to imitate it totally, but I don't get that Uncharted feeling, you know, from these guys. And again, part of their relationship was their witty banter going back and forth and stuff. Visually, the stuff, it looks like an Uncharted game, so I'm gonna give
Yeah.
him props for that. But the casting and just the voice, wow. And again, Tom Holland looks too young. He just
He does look
looks
too
too
young.
young. Listen, I don't wish poorly on anybody, but I think this is a catastrophe in the making. You know, like,
I think they want to have multiple movies, which is a good sign. They're kind of banking on multiple movies because they have a younger leading man and a secondary character, right? Because Sully's in his 60s in the game, and Nathan's probably early 30s, if not mid 30s.
yeah.
See, I always thought it would be cool if Jake Gyllenhaal was Nathan Drake, and we got like a Bruce Campbell to play Sully, right? Because
Yeah.
from the game, Sully's not always there, but he's always got Nathan's back.
Yep.
Right. So in the games, if Nathan needed something, Sully's coming in on the plane for some reason. Like Sully's always
Exactly.
there,
Yep.
but he's never there, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
interesting.
very hopeful for it. I am going to watch it. I do love the Uncharted franchise, and I just hope it's not one of those video game flops like the recent Resident Evil that came out that
Ooh.
zero people talked about.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that was not good at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, listen, I hope there's, you know, listen, in a way Sony's smart because maybe they're hoping there's going to be enough people that love that last Spider-Man movie, and they're going to be like, oh, let's go see what else this Tom Holland guy is. I really enjoyed Spider-Man. And hopefully they are thinking that enough people are going to associate their enjoyment of Spider-Man to Tom Holland to bring them to the theater to this movie and stuff. But yeah, I am not feeling it. Like, it just other than, I would honestly at this point, I would, if I do see this, it's going to be for Antonio.
But the plane with the cars coming out, and that's straight out of the games. That's straight out of the third one.
Yeah.
That's
So
straight
maybe
out
I should go and finish number 4.
There's a lot of number 4 in there because they mention Nathan's brother, who is one of the main characters in number 4. So go finish game number 4 and then give Uncharted the movie a chance.
Yeah, well, I got to do Horizon first, but yeah, we'll see.
Priorities.
So. Priorities. Yeah. Well, you know, unless, you know, maybe until Horizon comes out, because Horizon's still 20 days away. I'm not counting down or anything, but 20 days away.
20 days, 4 hours, and 10 minutes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us on Heroes World TGIF. It is always a pleasure to come at you and entertain and talk about the things we love. As always, we want to hear from you. Comment, like, share, get back to us. What do you want us to cover? Are there books that you're reading that we're not, that you want us to check out? Or if you picked up something on our recommendation, we want to hear about it. And also, don't forget to check all of or any of our social stuff, Heroes World online, and that is going to bring you to all of our good stuff: Facebook, Instagram, our website. You can find us all there. Thank you for joining us and have a good rest of the weekend.